The brutal murder of STRELITZIA and Kingdom Hearts Union Cross left a glaring impact in my Kingdom Hearts fanatic of a mind. Who could have possibly killed her? The one who was supposed to be the 5th Union leader after the Keyblade War, when the Dandelion's chosen leaders took the place of the Foretellers in the New World. Now this hit hard like Shion's death for me, except in STRELITZIA's case, she didn't see this coming at all. And there's no residing in another person's heart being asleep that can be woken up, ending up in the realm of darkness forever and eventually drawn out, no heart returning to the body. There is none of that happening in this case. That innocent girl was killed and is gone forever, and I have numerous suspects about it. Now the way I see it is like this: whoever killed her is without a doubt a Keyblade wielder. Now I know in the world where everyone was Keyblade masters or wielders in training should be obvious, but the important fact in this is that we can eliminate the factor of some outside threat that we don't know about that isn't one. I do think they ensured we saw her heart faded away because they wanted to assure us on this path. If her heart was just released, it would not have disappeared the way that it did. But the real question is, for what reason could anyone have killed STRELITZIA for? Considering the time that it occurred being before the Keyblade War, it could have been anyone in the world at the time. But personally, I think that it was most definitely a Dandelion. And I'll get to why in a second. The Dandelions were special because they would be the sole survivors of the Keyblade War when the world got reset and everyone lost the memory and went along their original life beforehand without having the fall of the Keyblade War, excluding the ones Master Ava chose as Union leaders because they would retain their memories. And those specific leaders were the ones that would retain just that, something the rest wouldn't, their memories. And it doesn't fail me to think that this is the reason behind why she was murdered. In order to be able to keep their memories, they'd have to masquerade as being chosen by Master Ava herself and take her place as a new Union leader. For keeping things together's sake, I'm going to assume that if another Dandelion found out about this, they could have been told by another that was already chosen as a Union leader what they would get as special perks. And their sneaky Kirith overheard a conversation he shouldn't, discovering someone that they can take the place up through excessive ways clearly. Now this isn't far-fetched either, because STRELITZIA herself was also a new Union leader chosen by Ava that was going to tell the player about everything and try to recruit them. So this shows that people that are chosen as Union leaders aren't afraid to tell each other their secret. And this plan could easily be carried out because none of the leaders would know each other's identities before they met after the war ended. Not even Skold and Ephemera, who were really close friends, knew that each other would be Union leaders when they had to gather up after the Keyblade War. If they wanted to just stay alive, they could have just became a Dandelion like many others did, and there would be no need to kill anymore. By keeping the memories, which is a huge factor in the Kingdom Hearts series so far, seems just right to me. That and the fact that they specifically stole an exclusive copy of the rule book issued by Master Ava herself to the new Union leaders, which narrows it down to the 5 next-gen Union leaders. I say this because although if they were a Dandelion that lost their memories, it would be able to help keep anyone off of their tails. But what would be the point of that? What would they gain? She was a quiet and soft-spoken girl whose best friend was her own Kirith. They gained nothing of true importance if they just killed her like that, because then they just gained absolutely nothing. Now for the culprits, I mean murderers, I mean suspects. Hey, give me a break here. I think it's safe to assume that Ephemera and Skold are out of the question, because at least we know the whereabouts of them throughout the entire game, afterwards, personalities at all stages of the story, where they were and who they were with. Either each other, with Ava, or player. Now technically we can't, because we do know when the murder takes place in conjunction with the meeting of the 5, but we don't know who was where, who was with whom at the time, which makes anyone have the potential. But there's nothing I could find the hole in for Ephemera and Skold. But as for Brain, the newcomer, the kind-hearted Ventus, our boy, and her own sibling Laurium, they are not out of the question, as hard as it may seem to follow. I'm going to start off with Ventus. Ventus, as we all know, was a kind-hearted and promising boy that just definitely wouldn't even hurt a fly unless it attacks his friends, that is. And he met with the terrible fate of his heart being set asleep for being broken. But this takes place 90 years before Birth by Sleep and 100 years before Sora even started his journey. And we were given no knowledge of Ventus's backstory except for the fact that he was temporarily Old Man Xehanor's apprentice for a good while, leaving much potential open for his character to have some more backstory. One thing set me to have him as a suspect. Ventus had an incredible amount of darkness within his heart. I mean, we all saw Vanitas. I mean, come on, he was a crazy, bloodthirsty villain that just took pride in striking down anybody and wreaking havoc on the innocent people of the world, all to accomplish his one goal of making the Keyblade. Vanitas was literally just Ventus's darkness in embodied form. And I don't think it's far off to say that every person has a different measure of darkness. The only reason Ventus was so kind was because his darkness was ripped from him. That's how Vanitas was made in the first place, meaning the potential for Ventus to have Vanitas-like thoughts or actions is not out of the possibility. And since this is before that operation, considering we still know nothing of Ventus, including the fact that we never saw him before the Keyblade War. He could have been anywhere with anyone doing anything, including taking the time to murder Strelitzia. He was supposedly a dandelion that was chosen by Ava, even though according to him, he never met her or saw her or even knew what she was like, which is a huge red flag for someone who is supposed to have been handpicked by Ava out of trust. Needless to say, this is just him being a suspect in the case of who killed Strelitzia. He may be as likable and innocent as he was in Birth by Sleep. Since he was against following the rulebook, maybe he wouldn't have stolen one. Or this could all just be a farce put up by him. Now on to the next one is Brain. The one I'd say we definitely know the least about of any of them. A brand new character like Ephemeran Scold, except we didn't get to learn about him before this point. This, even more than Ventus, is why I think Brain could possibly be the culprit, as well as some close analyzing of the dark figure that snuck up on Strelitzia. Even though it's so difficult to see, even for me, the dark figure seems to be wearing something on his head, like the top of his shape seems to have some type of headgear, even though it may just be pulling at strings here, specifically the point towards the front of the top of the figure. Now my first thought was signature Kingdom Hearts spiky hair, but then I realized none of the Union leaders have a hairstyle like that. The only pointy thing close to this is the quill on Brain's hat and the tip of his hat. Now I get it, this image is very hard to see, and I can understand if you can't even see it at all, but I assure you there's something there. I'll leave a link to this video in the description below if you guys want to take a look at it yourself and up your monitor's brightness. Another thing I was set off about with Brain is the fact that he showed up and immediately starts drilling. He starts drilling and drilling about the rulebook and wondering if it was set in stone or if it's something they should keep following or whatever, like it was new to him. I feel like if it was actually given to one by Ava and it was something this important for the entire world, wouldn't it have been smarter to ask her these things, the one who was issuing them? Pretty strange, but if he stole it after killing Strelitzia, having questions does not surprise me. And him being the only one consistently looking through the rulebook and the book of prophecies that they all stumble upon, he wanted some information in the world badly. Now the next one, who is the least likely candidate in my eyes, is Lauriam, Strelitzia's brother. On hand, he seems like to be the least likely suspect, as I said, but it wouldn't be the first time people have turned on each other for the sake of their own selfish goals. One thing I just don't get is why Lauriam seems to know so little about Strelitzia's whereabouts, even though they're siblings. Their hair color doesn't match, but that could be for different reasons, or maybe Lauriam could have just been lying to everyone all this time in order to get people off his case, in the case that anyone did go wondering where the girl went, like Arena, who did know Strelitzia. But back to what I was saying, Strelitzia never once mentioned talking to her brother about whether she would be a dandelion, or she didn't even mention his thoughts about it when speaking to her own Kirthi in her bed. If that did happen, I feel like it would have been dropped in conversation without saying his name. Lauriam says he didn't even know she had deciding on becoming a dandelion in the first place, let alone that she was meant to be a Union leader, and Brain did bring up this fact. But he would know that if he stole her rulebook along with her life. Regardless, this leads me to believe that the two at least weren't even close, especially when Elrina asked Lauriam the same thing and he just replied with sure. Like, if someone asks you if you're close to your sister or you like your sister, then you just say sure with a question mark? Like, come on now, that's suspicious. But that still begs the question, why would he take the life of his own sister? That isn't exactly an easy feat in the slightest for anyone at all. Then again, you can also say that Venus had no problem basically killing himself being Ventus in order to forge the Keyblade. Personally, I think it's a close call between Brain and Ventus, but I personally think it's Brain for the reasons above and because it may just be coincidence that he was the first one to speak after the scene of Strelitzia's death, saying number 5 is late, huh? But Nomura is definitely crafty. I think that was a small hint dropped at the fact that Brain did something and knew 5 would be late, not expecting Lauriam to show up because there should only be 5. What if Ava was smart enough to have picked 6 people as apprentices to take on the new world, just like the Master of Masters did, having Lushu being a secret 6th apprentice? But I'm open to you guys correcting me on some things. Comments about who you think is the culprit. Let me know in the comments below who you all think killed Strelitzia and why. And if you're excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, to answer this question if it will. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment below about whatever you guys want, Kingdom Hearts related or not. Let me know. And any critiques, let me know in the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and want to see more of all types, then make sure you hit that subscribe button for more content of all kinds. Thank you all for watching. I have links to my other social media like Twitter and Twitch in the description below for exclusive stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.